Sadly, 2020 has already seen at least 36 transgender or gender nonconforming siblings of the LGBTQ+ community fatally shot or killed by other means in the United States and Puerto Rico. This is just a fraction of the over 350 transgender and gender diverse members worldwide whose lives have been cut short. Much like in previous years, the majority have been transgender women of color from the Black and Latinx communities. These victims, like all of us, are loving partners, parents, family members, friends, and community members. They worked, went to school, attended houses of worship, and lived lives. They were real people, people who did not deserve to have their lives taken from them. We take the next few moments to mourn our siblings whose lives were cut too short. Dustin Parker, 25, a transgender man, was fatally shot while driving his taxi in McAlester, Oklahoma, in the early morning hours of New Year's Day. Dustin loved to read and enjoyed dancing and singing, and was a wonderful father to their children. Parker left behind a wife, Regina, and 4 children, and was a founding member of the McAlester chapter of Oklahomans for Equality, an LGBTQ+ rights group.
Nulisa Ruiz, a vibrant transgender woman, was shot to death in Roa Baja, Puerto Rico, on her birthday, February 24th. She was killed just 12 hours after someone reported her to police for using a women's restroom at a McDonald's. In March, Nulisa was remembered at a vigil in Jackson Heights, New York City.
Yami Mendez Orocho, 19, a transgender woman, was shot twice in the face and killed in Moca, Puerto Rico on March 5th. She was an avid lover of basketball and the NBA, donning Miami Heat apparel. The biography of her Facebook profile read, "Humility Prevails." Orocho, who had been the victim of an assault hours earlier, was misgendered and dead-named in the media following her death.
Scotland Kelly Devore was appearing to have presented as Scotland when leaving home for the last time on March 14th. It is unclear based on public information what name and pronouns Devore would have wanted used in this tragic context. Their body was found on March 30th. A suspect has been charged with murder. Although Devore was killed in March, Human Rights Campaign did not become aware of this death until November.
Monica Diamond, 34, a Black transgender activist and businesswoman, was shot to death while being treated in an ambulance in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was the co-CEO of the International Mother of the Year pageant system, which honors LGBTQ mothers, and was the founder and co-founder of an event marketing company. March 18th, Prentice Bess, 32, was arrested and charged with murder after he shot Diamond multiple times.
Lexie, 33, a Black transgender woman, was stabbed to death in Harlem, New York, early on March 28th. Witnesses told police a man stabbed Lexie in the neck following an argument over a wig.
Johanna Metzger, a transgender woman, was stabbed to death in Baltimore, Maryland, April 11th. A college graduate and self-taught musician, Metzger was staying at a recovery center at the time of her killing.
Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos, 32, a beautiful and vibrant transgender woman, was murdered in Humacao, Puerto Rico on April 21st. Also murdered was Layla Pelaya Sanchez, 21, another transgender woman. Their bodies were found in a car under a bridge. They had been shot and the car set on fire.
Layla Pelaya Sanchez, 21, a transgender woman, was murdered in Humacao, Puerto Rico on April 21st. Also murdered was Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos, 32, another transgender woman. Their bodies were found in a car under a bridge. They had been shot and the car set on fire.
Penelope Diaz Ramirez, 31, a transgender woman, was killed at the Bayamon Correctional Complex in Puerto Rico, April 13th. She loved makeup, fashion, and performing for her friends and admirers.
Nina Popp, 28, a beautiful Black transgender woman, was found dead in her apartment in Sikeston, Missouri, on May 3rd. Police are reportedly investigating her death as a hate crime.
Ella J. O'Regan, 20, a transgender woman, was stabbed to death as she prepared to open the Diesel barber shop with 2 other employees in San Antonio, Texas on May 6th. She was a member of the award-winning Panther Band and her smile made her the perfect person for customer service. Damian Campbell allegedly yelled, "God sent me here to kill you because you have done something wrong" during the killing. Campbell was arrested and charged with murder.
Tony Mdade, a black transgender man, was shot and killed in a confrontation with police in Tallahassee, Florida, on May 27th. Tony was diligent, tenacious, and a dedicated competitor. One could not have a better friend, associate, coworker, sibling, or family member than Tony. It was later revealed Mdade was suspected in the early stabbing of Malik Johnson, who may have been involved in a violent assault against Mdade.
Dominique Fells, a black transgender woman, was brutally slain in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 9th. Dominique loved to be noticed wearing her fashionable outfits and giving tips to her best friend, her mom. Dominique was a caring and affectionate person, especially to her sisters, Desiree and Dior. Her dismembered body was found alongside the Schuylkill River, and police are treating her case as a homicide.
Ria Milton, 25, a black transgender woman, was shot several times in a robbery attempt in Liberty Township, Ohio on June 9th. Multiple arrests have been made in this case.
Jane Thompson, 33, a transgender woman, was killed in a confrontation with police in Mesa County, Colorado on May 9th. She was deemed a game changer by her friends and would love to have a silent disco and dance on her front porch. Concerned witnesses called police after she was reportedly exhibiting odd behavior by standing still for hours in the same position. Thompson was shot after allegedly threatening police with a knife.
Selena Reyes Hernandez, 37, a transgender woman, was shot and killed in Chicago, Illinois on May 31st by a man who allegedly bragged to police about the murder. Police say Orlando Perez, an 18-year-old high school student, confessed to killing Reyes Hernandez after learning she was transgender and returned a short time later to shoot her lifeless body multiple times because he was so enraged.
Brian Egypt Powers, 43, a black transgender man, was shot to death in Akron, Ohio on July 13th. Powers, a cook for a catering company, was found dead on a sidewalk outside a church. Police say he was killed by a single bullet that went through both thighs. He was a proud advocate for the LGBTQ community, of which he was known as Egypt. He enjoyed cooking, old movies, and meeting new people. Brian was truly unforgettable with an infectious laugh and was always smiling.
Braelyn Stone, 17, a black transgender girl, was shot and killed in Little Rock, Arkansas on June 25th. Her body was found in a car on a walking path in Little Rock suburb of Sherwood, and a person on social media later claimed he was paid $500 to kill her.
Mercy Mack, 22, a black transgender woman, was found unconscious and suffering from a apparent gunshot wound to the head in Dallas, Texas, on June 30th. There were no witnesses to the shooting, but residents in the area reported hearing gunshots around 5 a.m., but apparently did not call 911 according to the phone logs. A passerby did call to report the discovery of an unconscious Mack at 6:15 a.m., but Mack was pronounced dead at the scene. She was known as the sweetest person anyone had met and always lit up the room. A kind and caring person that always looked out for the others, and those especially in the LGBTQ community.
Christy Peters, 32, a black transgender woman, was found dead outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana, July 1st. The local sheriff's office is investigating her death as a homicide.
Bre Black, 27, a black transgender woman, was killed in Pompano Beach, Florida on July 3rd. Her body was found shot to death in her home after neighbors reported hearing gunshots to police. Black was initially dead, named by the media.
Summer Taylor, 24, a non-binary person, was struck and killed by a car in Seattle, Washington, in the early morning hours of July 4th while attending a Black Lives Matter march. Taylor had been peacefully protesting on a closed section of the I-5 freeway when they were hit by a car that had illegally accessed the interstate.
Marilyn Monroe Cazares, 22, a transgender woman, was found in Brawley, California on July 13th. Her body was found near an abandoned building by authorities responding to the report of a couch fire. Her family said that she was stabbed and following that, set on fire. For those that knew her, Cazares' legacy continues to shine as a beacon of hope. Her family said, "A lot of people thought she was inspiring. She was looked up to, just living life, and she didn't care what other people said."
J Oreva, also sometimes referred to as Tiffany Harris, 32,
a black transgender woman, was stabbed to death in the Bronx in the early morning hours of July 26th. Hova died a short time later at St. Barnabas Hospital. A friend remembers Dior as a shopaholic who was obsessed with Louis Vuitton. Everyone loves her. She is one of a kind, recalls another. According to her Facebook, Dior worked as a personal shopper and enjoyed Desperate Housewives, Nip and Tuck, and other TV dramas. She would also post photos of various luxury brands she loved.
Kiara D. Hardy, 24, a black transgender woman, was gunned down in broad daylight in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on July 27th. She was found shortly after 1 p.m. lying in the street suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. She died at the scene. Kiara was a hairstylist. On Facebook, a video of her dancing with friends has been shared, while others describe her as loyal, always smiling, and one of a kind.
Asia Raquel Roan Spears, 34, a black transgendered woman, was stabbed to death in Portland, Oregon on July 28th. Roan Spears, also known as Rocky Roans, had been at a vigil for Tyrell Penny. An altercation broke out amongst some of the mourners, and Roan Spears was fatally stabbed during the fight.
Leah Rayshawn Day, a 28-year-old black transgender woman, died in Cuyahoga County Jail in Cleveland, Ohio on August 30th. Leah's death is unacceptable. Increased risk factors such as homelessness combined with racism, sexism, and transphobia conspired to lead to a death that never should have happened, said Tori Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative.
Key Sam, 24, a black transgender woman, was found suffering from a gunshot wound at a hotel in Lafayette, Louisiana on August 12th. Officers administered first aid at the scene before transporting her to the hospital in critical condition. She passed away from her injuries the following day.
Ariana Burnett, 37, a black transgendered woman, was found dead of a gunshot wound in Independence, Missouri in the early morning hours of September 19th. Police found her body in the grass alongside a road. Friends remember her as a Barbie and the person you want by your side.
Mia Green, 29 years of age, a black transgender woman, was shot and killed on Monday, September 28th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Police say they stopped a vehicle that ran a stop sign and found her in the front passenger seat suffering from gunshot wounds in her arm and neck. She was taken to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead a short time later. Mia had a smile that was so perfect and contagious. She could make anyone in her presence laugh.
Michelle Michelin Ramos Vargas, a Latinx transgender woman, was found dead in San Germain, Puerto Rico in the early morning hours of September 30th. Vargas, believed to be only in her mid-30s, was studying at Ponce Paramedical College to become a nurse. Her passion was helping other people. That's why she decided to study nursing. Her body was discovered suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Vargas has been identified in some reports as Michelle Ramos Vargas and Michelin Ramos Vargas.
Felicia Harris, a 33-year-old black transgender woman, was found shot to death October 3rd in Augusta, Georgia. Authorities found her lying on the ground and unresponsive, and she was declared dead at the scene a short time later. The self-employed interior decorator was known for her lively personality and spirit.
Brooklyn Deshauna Smith, a black transgendered woman who was shot to death in Shreveport, Louisiana on October 7th. Police discovered her body in an apartment with at least one gunshot wound. Police are still investigating her death as a homicide.
Sarah Blackwood, a white transgender woman, was shot while walking home from work in Indianapolis, Indiana, late in the evening on October 11th. She was taken to a local hospital where she later died. Blackwood's death is the sixth violent killing of a transgender person in the last 23 days. Friends described Sarah as shy and someone who loved anime, also indicative of her Facebook, in which several of her profile pictures are those of anime characters.
Angel Haynes, a black transgender woman, was shot and killed last week in Tennessee.
the body of the 25-year-old cosmetologist was discovered in a motel in the Whitehaven neighborhood of Memphis, suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Angel was a carefree, caring, determined, funny, smart, and giving woman. Unfortunately, our time with her was cut very short.